Hey Breck students, Frank here from AFP, and today I just want to talk a little bit about the different types of cables and some of the different types of microphones that we would use to basically start up our recording studio. And I'm also going to be breaking down some terminology that might have intimidated us before we knew what it actually meant. And it's cool because it's going to be a refresh on my knowledge, because I don't necessarily know everything, and I'm actually reading up on this, and I just want to share with you what I've come across. So the first type of cable that we're going to be looking at today is called an XLR. All right, so I'm just going to show you what an XLR looks like. It's a basic cable. I picked this up off the ground. I was recording last night, so I don't have the best wrapped cable, but yeah, this is if I'm not mistaken, this is the female side of the XLR, and this is the male. You can tell by these little pins, right? So there's your XLR male side and your female. So this is an XLR cable, and it's most commonly used with microphones, but it can be used to route stuff out of a mixing board. It can be used to connect speakers on stage, and yeah, it's just a basic way to get sound to and from a place. All right, so real quickly, I just want to read to you some definitions of what an XLR is. XLR cables are always balanced cables. They snap into place so you won't unplug them by mistake. XLR cables can be very long without picking up noise and interference. So yeah, basically sometimes cables, depending on the quality or how well you treat them, can pick up noise depending on the length. So these cables are good because they, the purpose of them is to try to eliminate that. And I think they do a pretty good job. So this is called an XLR cable. All right. Now, it looks similar, but the functions are kind of different. But you can, if you are short of a cable, you can get around using them for the same function. This is called a TRS cable. This is a XLR to 1/4 inch. And basically, you would use these for speakers. You can use them for instruments depending on, what you're using them for. Like if you want to get like a left and right signal out of one of these keyboards, or a DJ setup, like a CDJ or something. But like this right here, I use these for my speakers. Like I have the 2i2 right here, and it gives me the option to have a left and right with the 1/4 inch female inputs. So I use these, and I have an option on my monitors that I have what is this? A male going, the male side of this XLR is going to my monitors, while this side is going to my interface. So it's pretty cool. And they're balanced, so I get a pretty clear signal without any, interference and sound. So TRS cables, tip ring sleeve. They have 3 wires inside, 2 conductors and 1 ground. Together, the conductors cancel out the noise. TRS is balanced if connected to balanced device in mono. If not, they are unbalanced. How to spot them? They have 2 strips. They have 2 little black strips right here. So this is how you can tell it's a TRS cable. So it's pretty cool. This is a TRS cable. All right. So I don't have a TS cable, but a TS cable can be used for, getting a mono signal out of an instrument, or using, just directing sound somewhere. It's pretty good for. I don't have one on me, so I can't really give you an example. RCA cables. I don't have RCA cables either, but this is what the RCA female ends look like. So they're like basically color coded red and white. If you owned a VHS, if you owned a video game between the early 90s, you'll know that, you know, before HDMI, before all those really great new functions that I guess the audio science world has provided with us, there was RCA cables, and they were just basically your left and right. And if you had a video game, it was your yellow was your video image, so it was pretty cool. Somewhere around here I have a instrument cable that oh, perfect, right in front of me. This right here is a basic instrument cable that you would use for an electric guitar or a bass, or let's say you don't have TRS where you can like have both left and right out. You can hook this up to like the out of a keyboard and have it going into the line in of your audio interface. So this is, if you're a guitar player, I know you guys have seen this one before. This one's about, I think, 15 feet or 20 feet. And I got it for like $10 on mono price. So yeah, these are fairly cheap. And oh, just talking about money real quick, all these cables that I've brought up, got this cable, this is a pair. These are 2 cables in one, $12. Right here, I got this, I got a lot, like a literal like bunch of cables, $40. I got 5 of them, all like 10 feet, 15 feet long. So shop economically. Like you can, you know, it looks intimidating because when you go online and you search up without like any knowledge of like, oh, can I get this used? Is it better brand new? Like, oh my, like, do I really have to spend $300 or $400? You don't have to spend $400. Like I said in the last video, I got an interface. This is what I started with. Literally, you can find this for $20-$30 online. So, I don't have a MIDI cable, but there are cables that look like XLRs, basically with a, I think it has 5 pins, if I'm not mistaken, but it basically links MIDI devices. Like I can link this keyboard to a drum machine, and they sync internally, like the clocks, the BPM, and everything kind of syncs. And we're talking about instruments that don't rely on like the computer, like not like a controller or like a digital DAW workstation drum machine. Like this is just like for like say an external instrument, like a synthesizer with MIDI option. A MIDI cable would basically link MIDI instruments together externally and internally to play amongst each other, you know, and it's a pretty cool function if you have that type of keyboard or that type of device. And lastly, you're crazy if you don't know, if you live in this day and age and you don't know what this is. Check your knowledge on device. I'm just joking. This is a USB, basic USB port cable, and this goes from something like a controller like this. This is a controller that could be used on GarageBand or Pro Tools, virtually any type of DAW. It basically acts as an extra keyboard, and it's scaled to an actual piano, and you can play this like a piano, but it's not a piano. It doesn't, you can't hook this up without using a computer. You can't play any sound out of it. There's no sounds programmed into it. It's just like an extension of your computer, your virtual instrument, but physical. So it's pretty cool. And it's powered by, let me not drop this. It's powered by USB. So I can simply plug this into the side of my computer and play the piano as if I actually had a piano. I'm not going to lift this up, but this is, as I've been talking about, a synthesizer. And the way I get sound out of this is I can take either I prefer using 2 instrument cables because I don't have an extra pair of balanced TRS. Take 2 instrument cables and put them on channel 1 and 2, or just set up one stereo track on just one channel, and you can play both left and right at the same time onto one track. So it's pretty cool, and that's how I get sound out of the keyboard. When I'm recording guitar, I would use and I'm about to get to the microphones in a second. I would use an XLR cable into a microphone and send it to my interface and use it like if I'm not recording more than 4 guitars at a time. I'm recording 1 guitar. So I would take that one line and put it on input 1 of my interface and have a single microphone on my guitar amp and capture sound that way if I'm using an electric guitar. So there's just so many different ways to utilize these cables and utilize, you know, the small things. Like you don't need you don't even need the setup I have. You can just have something simple like this and just, you know, a single cable and a microphone and get a lot done that way. All right, so now I want to get into some of the microphones that I have. I have some out here. This right here is an Samson R21. This is a dynamic microphone, a performance microphone. Usually you would get one of these for free if you purchased a mic stand. If you buy one of these by itself, it's like $20, maybe even $30, but I've used these before to record with, and they get the job done. In my previous video, I think I made, and not recently, but like a while back, I said that an SM57 was a condenser microphone. That is, or I may have slipped that by mistake, but I know that's wrong. That is completely wrong. This microphone and an SM57, and I'll show you even another example of a dynamic microphone. This is a slightly more expensive dynamic microphone. This is a Sennheiser. These are both dynamic microphones. They're used for performing. They can be used for drum recording. They can be used for guitar recording, even vocal recording. But yeah, microphones like this, microphones like the SM58, SM58 Beta, SM57, 57 Beta, whatever. I don't even think 57 Beta exists. If it does, then let me know. But yeah. I have some examples of microphones that are dynamic. More examples of dynamic microphones. Here's an R21S. I think I have, what's this one right here? This is the, oh snap, look, I have a beta version of a cheap microphone. That's funny. R21S, dynamic microphone, very cheap. Here's a slightly more expensive dynamic microphone that we were just talking about. I just corrected myself. SM57, dynamic microphone. Great for drums. Oh my god, amazing for drums, amazing for toms, amazing for snares, hi-hats, whatever, you know, it's all on, you know, miking drums is preference, but if you're trying to learn how to mic drums, this is the bad boy. This is the one you want to, you know, I don't really like telling people to spend a lot of money, but like there are copies of this mic, like are not made, because the company that manufactures this mic is Shure. They're like cheaper versions of this microphone, but you know, if I were you guys and I was starting off my studio, I would save the money to buy this microphone. You can get it used for like $70. Brand new, it's $100. It is a phenomenal microphone. This is my favorite microphone to sing with. For a while I was using this on stage and bringing it to gigs with me. It works for my voice. I know it's kind of a sound guy's nightmare when it comes to vocals, but this is a pretty gnarly microphone. And like I said, all these microphones that I pulled out and I showed you, I've used them for vocal recording. For, you know, this was before I had a condenser mic, or before I, you know, knew what my money could buy me. I was just using anything that was around me. So bam, these are all examples of dynamic microphones. Moving on. Unfortunately, you know, I'm still building, it's not unfortunately. Fortunately, I'm still building my studio, and I'm, you know, learning different methods. And as I'm making these videos, I'm kind of teaching myself all this stuff. This right here is a condenser microphone. And basically this uses, excuse me, a magnetic field to capture sound from the cardioid. I can't pronounce that word so well, so if you know how to pronounce it, just leave it in the comments. But this microphone is powered by phantom power, the 48 plus feature on interfaces like this. You cannot use this microphone without 48 plus volts. Now, cool thing is, there are interfaces that are not necessarily meant to be audio interfaces that are built into, like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen a basic soundboard mixer. Now, a lot of these soundboard mixers come with audio, come with MIDI outs that you can connect to a computer and use them as audio interfaces. They are now starting to manufacture those things with 48 volts, the option to use phantom power on a performance live mixer. There's a difference between the live mixers and the studio mixers, but that's for another time. And you don't, by the way, you don't need a mixer to even build a studio. You just need an interface, something to capture the sound onto the computer, to get the sound onto your DAW. You do not need a mixer. If I could put that in bold words behind me, I would. You do not need a mixer. A lot of my friends who are just jumping into this field of becoming a music recording engineer often make the mistake of purchasing a live mixer, thinking that, oh, like it makes my studio look like I'm in an actual studio, or it gives me the options of using the faders. Malarkey. You don't need any of that. You just need a way to get your audio onto your computer. And this microphone is let me see. This is an Audio-Technica AT2020 super classic mic. I think Biggie used this on some of his records. I use this. I love this microphone. It taught me a lot about like my voice, because the thing about condenser microphones is that they're so sensitive, and you can literally hear the back of your throat, the back of your brain. I'm just joking. With these type of microphones. So I think these are the most ideal for recording recording your vocals, for recording like and when I say room, I mean like, when you stand in a room, there's a lot of space that you can capture with using this microphone. Like, and I'm talking about for the people who are recording drums and want to get that like really beautiful glisten on their drum tracks. Adding a room mic is really essential, and condensers are the way. You can also use a condenser on a guitar amp. I haven't done that, and I don't know how to go about that, so that's something I guess you can experiment with. But I have seen people do that in their own sessions. Yeah, and you can do a lot with this. If you have a lot of these, like if you have more than one, you can get a lot of great stuff out of your drums. Just really quickly before I, because we just talked a lot about microphones and the different types of microphones and condenser microphones, but really quickly, like the cool thing about having multiple cables and multiple microphones, if you can get to that point, or if you're interested in getting to that point. I know you saw me pull out 4 dynamics and a condenser microphone. The purpose of having that is so you can record drums, or record a choir, or record multiple instruments at once. And some of these interfaces, like I talked about the Sapphire Pro 40, that's one of the higher end interfaces that I have here in my home studio, allows us to multi-track, having 8, even having 2 inputs on, just like the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. But the Sapphire Pro 40 allows us to record 8 tracks at a time. Doesn't matter if it's XLR or line, you can do both. And it gives me the function to add 48 volts phantom power on channels 1 and 4, or if I want, channels 5 through 8. So that's pretty sick. Like you really get to like push the limits of your music with these type of devices. But again, I just want to get back to this point. All the things that I've showed you have been devices that were under $100, or at least under $200. Nothing that I own is $1,000. Nothing that I own is insured. I take care of my things. I really kind of went out and shopped economically and looked for things, because I know that I can make use with what I have, and that's really the purpose of these videos that we're making on Mondays about, and that's why we stick with GarageBand and GarageBand for iOS, because it's at the tip of our fingers. And if you don't have GarageBand, you do not need to buy a MacBook Pro to record music. I'm not yelling at you, I'm just telling you. You do not need a MacBook Pro, an iMac, or any type of Apple product to record music. You can download Reaper, that's Windows friendly. You can download Fruity Loops, Ableton. those things are Windows compatible, and you can just, the limits are endless. Like you can do anything you want with the technology out there today. You just got to do some research, and you got to shop smart, because we're living in times right now that, we want to feel official. We want to feel like we are, rock stars and we've made it. But it's like, realistically speaking, if you want to embody the true rock star, if you want to embody the true like essence of music and creativity, you would know that you can do it up here. You can do it by being smart. So that's going to conclude our Monday video series. I'm really excited to have talked about this stuff today. I'm going to be talking a little more next week about more ways to be economical, and hopefully get some more videos about GarageBand to you. I'm so excited to have shared this with you. Thank you guys for watching, and if you have any questions about the last 3 videos I made, please leave your question in the comments below, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Happy Monday. I hope everyone's safe. Have a good one.